Hello everyone, Ursula Cullen here from FlowForma, and I'd like to welcome you all to today's session, an interactive virtual demo and live Q&A with a financial services focus. So just before we get started, I'd like to share some housekeeping tips for today's webinar. So the webinar is being recorded today and you will get a copy of the recording after the session. If you need any assistance, please email info@flowforma.com and we'll be able to support you there. Your lines will be muted for the duration of this webinar, but we would like to keep it interactive. So please utilize the Q&A functionality in GoToWebinar, and you can also use the reactions as well. So keep it interactive if you can. And then after the webinar, we will share a copy of the recording as well. Now, just to go through the agenda for today. So we have a jam-packed agenda for our audience today. And what we will do is we'll start by introducing FlowForma. We will share common financial services challenges and how they can be tackled by a no-code process automation solution. And we'll also have a live and interactive demo showcasing FlowForma AI Copilot, a new innovation that's so powerful it can actually build any process in just 30 seconds. Then what we'll do is we'll close with a rapid fire Q&A session with our process consultants. So please do keep your questions coming in and we will get to those at the end. Without further ado, I'd like to invite our two panelists to join me now, Robert and David Shanley. And Robert, I'll pass over to you to just share a little bit of a background into FlowForma, if that's okay.
Yeah, thanks, Ursula. So FlowForma. So just a little bit about FlowForma. So FlowForma is a global leader in enterprise class digital process automation. It's designed to meet the needs of both business and IT teams, helping them to quickly digitalize processes, improve data collection, and drive operational excellence. FlowForma is a perfect fit for mid-size and large enterprises in the financial services sector that want to empower their teams to easily digitize processes and optimize any business process, no matter how complex that process is. It enables users to effortlessly create forms and workflows while seamlessly generating documents and reporting, all within the one single platform. So just a little word on our global community. So with over 300,000 users worldwide, FlowForma is a market leader in digital process automation. Our focus is to ensure that our customers quickly see value from the platform. We aim to get them up and running with their first process in no time, with a goal of delivering real measurable results within the first 6 weeks of deployment.
That's great, Robbie. Thank you so much. And for our audience today, Robbie's actually our go-to FlowForma expert. So he has a wealth of experience seeing companies digitize simple to complex processes with FlowForma. So you name it and he's done it. Robbie will be sharing his insights today into how digitalization will rapidly support your organization and your efficiency goals for 2025. And later on, we'll have David Shanley give us a demonstration of the FlowForma process automation tool. And Dave is actually our senior solutions consultant at FlowForma, and he's committed to supporting organizations and evaluating FlowForma and demonstrating proof of value. So that's exactly what Dave is going to do for us later on today.
Yeah, so just in terms of transforming financial services with automation. So from speaking with financial services organizations, we know that the need for digital transformation is at an all-time high. As organizations look to process automation, AI, and new technologies to enhance efficiency, accuracy, and compliance. So whether it's clients, suppliers, or funds, the onboarding process in financial services can be time-consuming and it can also be quite error-prone. And by automating these processes, you can streamline workflows while reducing manual tasks and ensuring a faster, more consistent onboarding experience. FlowForma also offers seamless integration, allowing you to connect data from multiple systems, creating a unified data source across your entire organization. Regulation and compliance is a critical aspect of the financial services industry, and it's staying compliant with regulations like GDPR and DORA. It's simply non-negotiable. And keeping track of ever-changing rules, it can be quite a daunting task. A no-code solution like FlowForma makes compliance easy with built-in audit trails, so you can ensure all processes are fully traceable and compliant. You'll have a clear record of every action taken, making it simple to demonstrate compliance whenever it's required. So whether it's credit, loans, or authorizations, approval process in the financial services are critical, and they can also be quite cumbersome. AI-powered Copilot is a fantastic way to create customized approval workflows tailored to your organization's needs. And just now, in a few moments, David here is going to give you a preview of how quickly our AI Copilot can generate a process. And again, just in today's fast-paced financial environment, effective risk monitoring is essential, especially for those who are looking to be DORA compliant. FlowForma helps you streamline incident and risk management workflows by simplifying the process of collecting, preparing, and presenting data, ensuring compliance with DORA's strict incident reporting timelines. So on your screen there, these are just some of the processes we've seen automated by financial services organizations, but really the opportunities are endless. And now I'd like to pass over to my colleague David, who is going to share a live demonstration of FlowForma and its features. Over to you, David.
Thanks, Robbie. So the plan of action, everyone, is to talk a little bit first about how end users interact with FlowForma forms. Then we're going to take a look at two specific forms. One is a non-conformance report, and the other is an onboarding form. We're going to take a look at those from an end user vantage point, talk a little bit about how the processes are built out, and also how the functionality that's woven into those processes can be applied across multiple different use cases in the financial services sector. Once we've done that, we're going to go and take a look at an ICT incident management process build. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building that on the back of what Copilot has suggested as a structure for that build. So you're going to see what Copilot has given me back as a response to my request, and we're going to build on top of that. Directly after that, we're going to show a recording of a Copilot interaction. And after that, we're going to move through into FlowForma Insights, which is our analytics tool. So what you're looking at here is a SharePoint team site dashboard. So FlowForma sits on SharePoint Online as part of your Office 365. And we harness the capabilities of SharePoint to collaborate. And in this instance here, we've got a team site that allows you to move into a specific area of interest to initiate or engage with a pre-existing form. So for example, if I were to click on regulatory compliance here, that's going to open up a page. On that page, I'm going to see my current working dashboard. I can see forms that require my attention here, which I can click into and engage with, or I can initiate any one of these forms here, which is represented by a tile. Now this is an interaction via a SharePoint team site. Users as well, if they don't need to touch an environment like this, they might simply receive an email and they click on the link in the email and would take them through to their respective form in a browser tab. So outside of working with forms via your browser, FlowForma also has mobile capabilities as well. For both iOS and Android, we have an app which also has offline as well. So I'm going to step through the first of our processes here, which is a non-conformance report process or recording of issues. The layout of the form here, I'll just talk a little bit about first. So you have a gray step bar here, within which you have all of the steps in the process. So we're currently on the initial step where an issue is raised. It's going to move through into an acceptance step, a root cause review, and then an action step. Now on the action step, we're going to have all of those individual line items that we capture in this table here assigned to the appropriate action owner. Then it moves through to a final approval step here. So I'm using some lists in the background here just to capture information, what the issue type is, the project type, where the location is, and again, there's rules firing under the hood here as well. So if I ask, is this a supply chain issue? I've got a hide show question rule here that displays details if it is one and hides it if it's not. So all these rules that are being applied here are being applied using 100% no code, using a single build interface, as you'll see shortly when we step into our build. I've got a dynamic repeating table here. I can add and remove rows. You could also have a fixed table as well if you wanted to ensure the user couldn't change the number of rows. And what we're using here again is some native SharePoint lists. As mentioned earlier, these are very, very useful to have that structured engagement for the end user. So if I were to choose a non-conformance area such as competence, I can then cascade through and surface up only associated information for that category level 1. And again, all I'm doing there is cascading through lists using list lookup question types. I can put in my description here, and then I can refer to a specific procedure or standard. So if I choose procedure 1, for example, it's going to pull through from a document library that procedure for me. So if I click on that, that'll open it up for me if I want to see that in a separate tab. And again, that's harnessing all our capabilities around integration with both lists and document management, which we natively integrate into. So let's just say we have 2 line items here for our root cause. I'm going to go with environmental. I'll put in an additional description here, and I'll pull out another procedure here. So again, the rules that are firing under the hood, question change rule firing here, that's what it's called. So that gives you dynamic content based on how the user's interacting with the form. We also have step level rules as well. So step level rule fires the moment the user clicks submit. So in this instance here, you might be assigning the next step to a specific individual. And what we're doing here actually is we're going to generate a document using our FlowForma Word plugin. And we could be sending an email to the owner of the next step as well. So these rules will fire on submit. Now, because I own each of the steps here, it's going to move directly through into that second step for me. So again, if I click back on the previous step, I can review it, read only, once I have permission to do so, or I can push the content through here, as I've done in this instance here, to facilitate the decision for the acceptance step owner. What we also have firing here is a generate document rule on submission of the initial step. So if I open this up here, you'll see we've generated a PDF here. So again, that's done using our generate document capabilities. And just to jump in and show you that very quickly here, there is a FlowForma Word plugin. And that Word plugin allows you to use any pre-existing document template you have, and you can populate that then with content from the form instance in which it's generated. It's a Word plugin, and all you have to do then is decide where you want to cursor position your tokens here. So if I say drill down into my first step here, and I want to go in and I want to capture the issue title that's going to appear here, cursor position, I want to capture the answer, that'll appear here. What I can also do with this generated document as well is I can also use a DocuSign with it. So if you need to get a proper external signature verification. And what's also firing here is business rules. So if I go in here, click on the magnifying glass, I have a rule in situ here already. And that rule is telling me that only display that section if this following condition is true. And in this instance, if the answer to project equals project D, display this section. So if the answer isn't, that's going to be stripped out of the generated document, and then the document in turn will contract to reflect that. So you have a dynamic document being generated dependent on the instance in which it is actually created. That document in turn can be converted to a PDF, it can be routed through to a document library, you can create your own document library dynamically and route it through to that, it can be bolted onto emails and so on. So I'm just going to jump back in here for a moment. So again, on our acceptance step here, if I don't approve, we have a question change rule firing here. So I can reject this and I can put in my comment. And the moment I click submit, because it's equal to reject, I've got a passback rule firing here, and it's going to send it back to the initial step and display these comments read only. So again, I could go in, make the appropriate change, and fire it off again to the owner of the acceptance step. Now again, I'm moving through each of these steps because I own them all for expedience. In reality, once I click submit, it'll just take me back to my dashboard. So let's just say I take a happy path and now I accept it. When I click submit, moves through to method of investigation. And the type of functionality you see here could be quite useful for a lot of different processes. So if you've got, like, say, authorizations and approvals, say around loan approvals, credit authorizations, you're going to have dynamic interactions here. So if it's, for example, it's a track and trend, you'll notice here all of the steps bar the last one are now stripped out. So you might have a scenario whereby it's a loan approval, and once it's above a certain amount, it has to take a defined path through the organization. So again, you'll see here, all of the line items are in place here. And now we can drill down further. So this is a root cause review. So I can go further into the issue and I can decide exactly what I think the root cause is. And then what the costs are likely to be that's going to be incurred by the organization. And again, when I click submit, it moves through to the next actor in the process, and that's going to be the person assigning the actions. So on this step here, you'll see I can go in and I can decide who owns each of these line items. So you've got 2 different action owners, and you'll notice these step boxes are smaller. These are running in parallel. So each of these step owners can engage with their step concurrently. So if I put in myself for this one and my colleague Paul for this one, what this now allows you to do is it allows you to assign specific tasks to an individual. And what's happening under the hood here is all this information is being written back into SharePoint, into a native SharePoint list, out of the box functionality, and pulled back in to your form here. So again, once I'm happy with that, I'll click submit, and it goes straight through to our two action owners. And you'll notice here, I've got the first line item, because you only see what it is you need to see. I can put in my resolution comments here, and my colleague Paul, I own his step here as well, he can put in his resolution comments here. And the moment I click submit, it's going to leave that parallel set and go through to a final approval step. And again, we've logics written in here as well. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that the owner of the approval step does not approve. What you want to do then is you want to be able to send it back to the appropriate step. So just while it's firing up here. Any questions coming through there?
Sorry, Dave. Yes, someone is asking here about document generation. Maybe something that you can just discuss and explain further.
Explain further. Okay, yeah. So again, all you need for the document generation is a FlowForma Word plugin. And that's the plugin installed on your local version of Word here. And what that allows you to do is you can take any pre-existing document template that you have, and you can populate with that with content from the form instance in which it's created. Very easy to use. It's very flexible, and it allows you to generate documents that are specific to that instance. So that type of functionality is going to be very useful for the likes of contract management, which obviously is very, very important in the financial services sector.
Okay, great.
Whole document management.
Again, in this case here, we're on our final step here. I can put in costs incurred for each of these line items here, and I can accept or reject it. So if I decide to reject it, for example, I can send it back then to previous step. In this case, is root cause review, and that can be addressed by the step owner there. That's just an example of a recording of issues process. Again, functionality that's represented in that can be woven into a lot of other use cases within the financial services sector. What I'd like to show you next is an engage form. So just bear with me. I'm just going to close off some of these here. And I'm going to bring it up here. So engage allows you to bring third parties into a process. And you can either do that using anonymous or secure access. So we use a form service. The individual only interacts with one single step in the process, and it's done using a form service. If it's anonymous access, you're not incurring a FlowForma end user overhead, which means that you might have 500 internal users, but you might have 2,000, 3,000, 20,000, 30,000 potential external parties that you need to engage with in a process. And if you're using anonymous access, they won't be classed as users. They simply get a URL, and there's no credentials that need to be keyed in to verify who they are. So again, very, very useful for maybe the likes of kind of external customer complaints or onboarding. So onboarding can be used obviously for employees. It might be supplier onboarding. So again, very, very useful here. So I'm going to just refresh this here and show you a simple engage step here. All the functionality you have in FlowForma is available to you here. So I'm just going to put in a little bit of information here around this individual. So it's concatenating his name here using a business rule. And we've got a business rule firing here as well. So for example, if primary language equals other, it's going to ask what that is. If it's not, it won't. And again, I can upload ID here. And I've got a validation rule firing here as well. So if I put in an email address and I want to put in a confirm email and they don't match, when I click submit, it won't let me submit. I need to make sure they match up. And obviously you want to capture their email details here, because what you can do with Engage as well is not just for the initiation of a process that you can use Engage, like step 1. You might also want to bring this individual back into the process on step 3 and step 7 and so on, which you can do. If you do want secure access, their class as a FlowForma user, they would need credentials, and they can use either Facebook, Google, or Microsoft accounts to sign in, but they'll be classed as a FlowForma user. Anonymous access, they don't need credentials, and there's no FlowForma end user overhead. When I click submit, that's that single step anonymous form completed. And if I go into my dashboard here now, and go into my onboarding, You'll see here, there's my form instance. It's landed on the second step here. If I click on that and open it up, you'll see we're now on our second step. And you can see all the information being pulled through regarding that initial step here. So again, very, very useful. No FlowForma end user if you're using anonymous access. And again, that individual can be brought through, say for step 1, the initiation, might be on step 3 as well, might be on step 7. They can be brought into the process as and when you need to bring them in. So I'm just going to go in and take a look now at our build. So again, we're going to be building an ICT incident management process. And what I have in place here is I've got two things I want to show very quickly here. The first one is what our build is going to look like when we're finished it. So it's the old, here's one I've made earlier. So I'm going to create a new form here. And this is what we're going to have hopefully at the end of our session here. So again, you can see here the gray step bar. We're on our initial step here called incident report. We have all these subsequent sequential steps directly after. We've got our affected area. So if I choose category A as an affected area, I only want to see associated items for that area. And we're just using some lists in the background here to cascade through and filter accordingly. I could put in my incident description. Let's just say I want to upload an image. So say, for example, if it's a security breach, I want to take a picture of what's displaying on my monitor, I can do so. And just here we go. And I can annotate or mark over that image as well. Severity level, I've color coded this. We could go high, medium, or low. Incident type, if I choose other, we'll be asked what that is. If I choose type 1, that's gone. Again, date and time of incident I can key in here as well. So I can put in today's date. I can choose a time. Location of incident, just using a list here. And again, check if incident occurred previously. I'm using a get list data rule here, and it's actually going into a list and pulling through all of the type 1 incidents that have occurred previously. When I click submit, it moves through to the next step, which is initial assessment. And again, I own all of these steps here. In reality, when I click submit, it would just return me to my desktop, and the owner of the next step would pick it up from their dashboard or from an email link. On the next step here, there's a couple of things I want to point out. We have our AI summarization, which allows you to collate information from data captured in all your various different questions and give you an AI generated summary. Very, very useful if you've got a large process, multiple steps, and you want to gather information across all of those steps. Again, I like it, which means that I can apply business logic to this and propagate this information going forward. Again, we've got a couple of questions here. Request information, is this a cyber attack? Let's just say I request information. Because I'm requesting information, the moment I click submit, it's going to pass it back to the previous step, embed the information there. I can make the appropriate change as per the request and make a resubmission. And the last thing we have here is you'll notice here, initial assessment moves through to containment. If I say it's a cyber attack, we now have a cybersecurity incident response step. And that's what we're going to be building out. And to do so, I'm actually going to go into this one here, which is Incident Management Webinar. Okay, so what you're looking at here is Flow Designer. So Flow Designer is where you do your physical process build from. In the left-hand panel here, you have your steps and you have all the associated questions in each step. And if I toggle on Form Preview, in the right-hand panel, you can actually see what your form instance looks like. So you can see here what you're building as you're building it. The middle panel here is where you do your configuration, where you add your steps, your questions, your business rules. Now, what I did here, just ahead of our presentation, is I had a conversation with Copilot here. You can have as many chats as you want here. You can create a new chat. This is the chat I had. So again, you'll see here, I've asked Copilot to create all steps in ICD incident management process, include cyber attack. This is what Copilot has returned in the response. I can see my steps here, incident report, initial assessment, and all the associated questions here. I then asked it to add 5 questions to step 1, which it did. And at that point, I was happy to hit build. The moment I hit build, it builds it out here for me. So I have my framework in place. If I wanted to build this off my own bat, I would be adding steps and questions here myself using this functionality in the middle panel here. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually go and make some changes to this process build. I'm going to toggle on form preview here. I'm going to go into the first question here called reporter's name. I'm going to make that just my question editor. I'm going to make that a person or group question. And incidentally, what's on our roadmap here as well is it's going to actually pull through the recommended data types from our Copilot engagement and map them through here into our framework here. I'm going to change contact number to department. I'm going to go to affected system service. I'm going to actually add a question here. Let's just add one here. I'm going to add a question for area. I want to find out what the affected area is. I'm going to make that a lookup. So I'm going to be looking up a list here, single column list with all the various different areas that potentially could be affected. I'll just use the category list here. So we'll go category A, category B. It locks into it here. I'm going to position this directly above affected area system. And now for this question, I'm going to look into a second list and it's going to apply a filter for me. I'm going to go look up. The list I want to extract my information from is my category item. It's a second list here, and we're going to apply a filter. We want to get the item, and we want to apply a filter, and the filter is going to be where the category equals our chosen category here, area. Instant description, I'm going to make that multiple lines of text. Severity level, I'm going to go in and go high, medium, low, and I'm going to give it an associated color. So for severity level, I think I'll make this a choice. And as I said, the recommended question types is going to get pulled through into FlowForma as well in the next iteration. So again, I'm going to make this a choice. I'm going to go high, medium, low. And I'm going to go visual choice. I'm going to make high a red. I'm going to make medium an orange. I'm going to make low gray. Incident type. Let's go to choice. Let's go with type 1, type 2, and other. Now, if other is chosen, we want to capture what that's likely to be. So we need to have a question placed for that, which I'm going to add here. So before we go any further, let's just build out some of the logic here and what we have already. So the reporter's name, that's me, that's being pulled through. I might want to get information from around that individual, like their department. That information can be extracted using get user profile business rule, or in this case here, I'm just going to use a list. So I'm going to make that read only. And this is my trigger point here. Once the system pulls through that user, I can then apply a rule to this trigger question here. Rule I'm going to apply is a get list data rule. You'll see all the rule categories available to me. I've workflow control rules here. I've all these data integration rules. I've communication rules, SharePoint actions, permissions, and so on. So there's a lot of depth here. What I'm going to use is a get list data rule. And I want to go in here and I want to use my employee details list here. And the filter I want to apply is where the name equals the name of the individual here. And then I want to do my mappings, and I just want to map department from the department column. And that's my rule in place. That's called a question change rule. It's on the trigger question. Another example of a question change rule would be here. So if incident type equals other, I want to capture what other is. I'm going to hide other. Trigger point to determine whether it's required or not is here. Add rules. It's a hide show question rule. And it's 100% no code. So again, all I have to do is go in and drill down. And if incident type equals other, if that condition is fulfilled, I want to show other. And again, I like to copy and paste through into my title the condition. Now, as I'm building, I can create test forms to see what my test form looks like as I'm building it out. So if I create my test form here, you'll see we've got our department pulled through for that specific individual. I've got my area, category A, affected items. It's my cascading list lookup, so I only want to see the appropriate ones for the area chosen. Incident description, I need to change that to multiple lines of text. Severity level, I've got high. Incident type, if I choose other, it asks me what that is. If I choose type 1, it's gone. So let's go in and just make a few more quick changes here. So I'm going to go back in here I'll make this multiple lines of text. And what I want to do here is date and time. I want to change that to date and time question type. Again, as I said, these are all going to be pulled through for you out of the box automatically. What also will be included is the ability to, if you have, say, for example, a form from another system, or you have a flow diagram representation of your process, you'll be able to upload that into the Copilot chat area. And it will scan it and will then use that information to give you your framework in the left-hand panel here. So again, I'll go with date and time here. Location, I'll skip for the moment. Has the incident occurred previously? Again, if the answer is yes, we can provide details around that. I'm going to go to the initial assessment step here as well. And I want to add a couple of questions for the AI summarization. So again, this is a collation of information across pre-configured questions into an AI summarization that helps you facilitate kind of a decision, and is especially useful if you've got a large number of steps in a process where you need to have that collation. So I'm going to have my summary first, which I'm going to have as multiple lines of text. And then we're going to add, a feedback question. So do we like what we've seen here? So summarization feedback. So once I have those two questions in place here, I'm going to make this read only. I'm going to put a rule in place on submission of the initial step that does that collation for me and feeds it into this feedback question here. So again, I'm going to go to my step here this time as distinct from a question. Again, it's all about context. If I am on a question, I can see my rule firing here, single build interface. At step level, I can see my rules at step level. So I'm going to go at step level and add a rule. The rule I'm going to apply here is a summarization rule. Again, step level, completing is the event the moment the user clicks submit. You've got starting and saving events as well. I have no condition in this case. I can then decide what my input questions are. So if I pick, say, reporter's name, I'll pick department, I'll pick the area where the incident happened, I'll pick the affected system, the incident description, severity level, and the date and time of the event. Where is it output to in the second step? It's output to my summary question here, and my feedback question is locked in here. And that's a step completed rule. And just to show that in action here, let's just create a quick test form. So let's just fill in some of these fields. And again, when I click submit, moves through to the next step. On that step, we have our summary here. And again, I can decide whether I like or dislike that summary. What I want to do next is I want to take a look at what happens if the user needs to send this back to the initial step and maybe input comments into that initial step. So I'm going to close this out here. And we're going to ask a question on the second step here. More information needed. And if the answer to that is yes, we're going to send it back to the first step. So we have our question here. Now, if more information is needed, we need to impart that information to that initiator. So I'm going to put in comments. I'm going to make that multiple lines of text. So again, I'll position this here. I'm going to hide some of these guys here because we don't need them for the moment. And again, if the answer is yes, we need to show comments. So I'm going to hide the comments here. And again, my trigger point is here. It's a question change rule. If I go add rules, it's a hide show question rule. If I go in and edit my conditions here and drill down into my second step, if more information needed equals, again, 100% no code. If more information equals yes, that condition is met. And again, I like to copy and paste through into my title, my condition. I want to show comments. And what we want to do next is we want to go into the first step and we want to be able to capture those comments as it's sent back to that first step. So again, I'll have a comments question here. It'll be multiple lines of text. I've positioned it in my first step here. I'm going to hide it and make it read only. Just going to hide these guys here for the moment. And again, trigger points, question change rules fire on the trigger question. You can see contextually where your rules sit at all times. Step level rules fire at step level. So I know the moment that the initial assessment step owner clicks submit, if more information needed equals yes, I want to send it back to that first step. So I'm at step level, go to my add rules. It's a passback rule. The condition in this instance is if I drill down, if more information needed equals yes. So it's simple logic, 100% no code. It's not expression language, it's not low code, it's 100% no code. I paste that through here. I'm going to send it back to that first step. What I also want to do is I want to use a hide show question rule. Again, governed by the same conditions. So you can get into the rhythm of building very, very quickly. If more information needed equals yes, if that condition is met. Again, I want to show on my initial step commas that are currently hidden, and they're going to remain hidden unless this condition is fulfilled. Last thing I want to do is a set question value rule, and what I want to do here is I want to copy through to my target comments, my source comments here from that second step. So now just to show that in action, let's create a test form. I click submit, moves through to the next step. Owner of the next step picks it up either via email link or through their dashboard. They see the summarization here, which they like. More information needed, the answer to that is yes. So it's now going to display comments. I can then put in whatever additional information I need and click submit. The moment I click submit, it's not going to move through the containment. It's going to pass back to the previous step, and these comments are going to be embedded on the previous step for that user to address, which I can do here. Last thing I want to do actually is on the second step here, I want to change this question to, is this a cyber attack, yes or no? If the answer is yes, what we want to do is we want to bring in a cyber attack step. So I'm going to close this out here. I'm going to add my step very quickly. So this is a dedicated cyber attack step. So you have a response team, and I'm going to position this here as my third step. I'll just add one question. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hide this step. I'm going to go to my trigger point here, and if it's a cyber attack, if the answer to that is equal to yes, we will then engage that third step, which is currently hidden. So again, I'm on my trigger question. I can apply a rule here, add rules, hide show step rule, edit conditions, again, drill down. If the answer to this is equal to yes, if that condition is met, I want to show currently hidden step called cyber attack. So again, just to show that in action, you'll see here, is this a cyber attack? There is no cyber attack step. If I say yes, then it's to be engaged with. If I say no, it's gone. And that's how quickly you can build. Before I move through into the insights section, I just want to show a very, very quick recording of a Copilot conversation that I had earlier. And again, because time is of the essence here and no one wants to endure my two-finger typing, I have a recording of it here. So I'm just going to scroll through it. So you can see here, start of our conversation here with Copilot. We've nothing here. We don't have any framework. I haven't built anything. Copilot hasn't built anything for me. If I scroll across here, you'll see my first instruction. Tell me what processes help with operational resilience in finance sector. So when I click the little paper plane, I literally only have to wait a few seconds and it's going to give me back these areas here. Now, the one that's of interest to me is business continuity planning. And my next request is around create all steps and questions in business continuity planning process. Again, just to show how quickly that, I'm going to play this in real time. This is how quickly you're getting your information back. So it's literally a matter of seconds. and it's given me my steps for each of the respective questions. What I wanted to do next here was I wanted just to shorten those questions. So I just said regenerate the last response with short question titles instead of long descriptions, which again, it's done for me. At that point, I'm happy with the build. I'm just clicking the build button. And that's given me that framework and that structure. So, a lot of the time you may not have the process owner expertise in-house, or they may be very, very hard to track down. So having Copilot here as a kind of a process expert sitting alongside you at all times obviously is very, very beneficial. So I'm going to jump out of this here. I want to move through into Insights very quickly here, which is our FlowForma Analytics tool. And I'm just going to double click here on Insights. And again, this is a recording here, so I can kind of move through and talk about a few different specific areas. So what you have here is what is effectively a real-time dashboard, surfacing up kind of charts around your processes that are in play. So the data you're looking at here is all related to the process themselves. It's all about process performance and the volume of uptake amongst end users, who are your super users, who's your occasional users, and very importantly, what items are overdue. So what form instances are not adhering to their service level agreements. What you can do with these out of the box pre-canned reports is you can simply add them. They're already pre-built for you. It's harnessing all that data and giving you the opportunity to make meaningful decisions. So for example, if I were to go into the initial one here, the leave request you'll see here, if I click on that in top left chart, it's going to take me through to a spline. I can see very, very straight away using the spline here, I can see get very, very good meaningful insights into, when there's peaks, which is obviously peak before the summer, peak before Christmas around leave requests. I can go into forms in progress and I can drill down into form instances. And I can very, very easily add as well to the pre-existing chart set. So if I go in here and add, say, an additional chart underneath forms in progress, I can do so. And I can pick an out of the box one. You can build your own charts as well here around business data captured in form instances and wire these up with your process performance out of the box charts you see here. So I want to pick, say, for example, a overdue items in progress, and straight away it builds a chart for me. And if I click, for example, on expenses, it'll take me down to those form instances here. And I can actually drill down into each of these as and when I need to. So again, all of these charts here around process performance, process data, they're all available out of the box using FlowForma Insights, and you can drill down into a form instance. This is just a chart I was building out earlier on here, and this is around incident management. And in this case here, I chose open incidents. I then changed my mind and moved through to instance under investigation, and I clicked down on a form instance here, which is form number 41. It can take me through to that specific form instance, and I can go in and I can take a look. So for example, if that was, say, a form that was a currently live form, I could then go and delegate that to somebody else. So it's the ability to manage all of your form instances, ensure they're adhering to service level agreements if they're not, moving them on. It is worth mentioning as well when it comes to service level agreements, there's also the ability within FlowForma to build into your actual process design the ability to automatically reassign to the next available individual should a service level agreement not have been complied with. So if someone hasn't gone near their step and 3 days has expired, you can automatically reassign that to the next available individual. So you can essentially load balance your forms. I think that's important to mention as well. You can build it into the design. So I think that's my segment wrapped up there, Ursula, if you want to.
That's great. Thanks so much, Dave. I'll pass over to you, Robbie.
Yeah, cheers, Dave. Thank you for sharing. So I hope the audience enjoyed seeing how much you can achieve in FlowForma in such a short amount of time. So there was a really large part of that process developed in under 40 minutes. FlowForma can accomplish so much already, and I truly believe that the addition of Copilot is going to fast track automation for many organizations. Here are just some of FlowForma's financial services and insurance customers and the processes that they've automated. Marsh have created a seamless workflow for their disaster recovery planning and application, risk assessment processes. Aon have a focus on onboarding, offboarding, insurance vetting, data access requests, GDPR requests, internal transfers, complaints, and outages. And speaking with William McCann, he's shared that Grant Thornton have seen a 60% efficiency gain by automating their job appraisals process, while also automating data access requests and their client acceptance process. So hopefully this gives you some inspiration on how process automation can streamline key processes within your organization, driving efficiency, compliance, and improved decision making across the board. I just want to speak a little bit about our unique free trial experience. So at FlowForma, we are confident that our platform will not only meet your expectations, but exceed your expectations, which is why we offer a fully supported 14-day free trial. This is a risk-free opportunity to prototype, build, and deploy an automated digital process with FlowForma. So you'll receive guided support in selecting a process that aligns with your business goals, allowing you to prove the value of FlowForma firsthand. This experience will give you the confidence that FlowForma is the right platform to support your digital transformation. It will also help you build a strong business case for investing in your digital process automation. You'll get to test drive FlowForma in a fully supported, risk-free environment, tapping into expertise of process specialists who will guide you every step of the way. Plus, with a working prototype of your digitized process, you'll have a powerful tool to help secure internal buy-in. Just a brief overview then on how our free trial works then. So our free trial experience takes place over 14 days. First, we kick things off by activating the trial and licenses for your team. And then together, we agree on the success criteria to ensure that the trial meets your specific needs. Next then, we move into co-development. And in the first working session, we start to build a defined process together. Then in the final co-dev session, we collaborate to finalize the process within FlowForma. Finally then, when everything is in place, we successfully launch your automated business process, giving you first-hand experience of the value of FlowForma and what it can bring to your organization.
Fantastic, Robbie. Thank you so much. And thank you, Dave, for sharing. Yeah, as Robbie said, I know it was a short time to demo, and usually Dave hosts these demo with some of our prospects over, it could be an hour to an hour and a half. So Dave, I know you were managing a lot there at one go, but I really appreciate that. And look, we'll always offer further guidance if required. So Dave is available to showcase more specific use cases in the financial services sector if needed. And Robbie is always available to guide our financial services prospects into managing expectations and selling internally and how to get started. But thank you both for joining me today, and I hope everyone enjoyed and has a lovely rest of the evening.